Hey guys, my name's Crystal Kenny, and I'm in love with creating. All things artistic and imagination involved. I'm an American girl who chased her creative dreams all the way to Paris, France, making a living using photography. This podcast takes you inside the stories of all the artsy folks I've met along the way and gives you that extra push to discover your creative gifts. The desire to create is deeply inside each and every one of us, and I give you the tools and inspiration to find a new way of living a more creative life. This is La Vie Creative, the podcast. Claudine Hemingway is a descendant of famed writer Ernest Hemingway. We bumped into each other at a party and decided to team up and dive deep into French history, but with a twist, by bringing a spotlight to those lesser-known creatives in France. This is History with a Hemingway. Welcome back to Paris History Avec, a Hemingway. Today we are talking about Versailles. And if you've been tuning in, we've been talking pretty regularly about the women of Versailles who are close to Marie Antoinette. But today we're actually talking about the chateau itself. So I'm going to let Claudine take it away from here.
Yeah, we figured, everybody wants to go visit Versailles, so
might as well talk about it.
We might as well talk about it. The Versailles, of course, dates back much farther than the chateau. It was originally, the land originally belonged to the Priory of Saint-Julien. And in July 1589, Henry IV spent 2 nights there on his way to his siege of Paris.
So was it just like a big piece of land before?
Yeah, of course. I mean, if we go back far enough, everything was, right?
Yeah, exactly. Before we came and ruined everything.
Exactly. In 1604, his dad, Louis XIII, his son, would hunt here, and he, Louis XIV at the time was just 5 years old.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So most people equate Versailles to Louis XIV. But he would return to work on it. It was he had a very small little, just tiny little building there. And in 1623, he had the lodge built, and it was built up on top of a little hill that was next to a windmill.
So he just started to build like his hunting lodge.
Yes. Yeah. And so if you go to Versailles, and you're standing at the front gate and looking at the chateau, the middle part is the original part.
The middle part is the original, where the gate is?
Yeah, if you go from the gate, look straight back, it's called the envelope. And so the middle part of it that goes left to right is the original part, and then everything added onto it is added on over time.
Oh, that's so interesting. So we're in that little part that's like the oldest part.
Yeah, and that's all it was under Louis XIII.
Not what it was today.
No. So yeah, on June 28th, 1624, he spent his very first night there. Architect Philibert Le Vau built the original lodge. From 1631 to 1634, he added onto it. So basically, as soon as it was done, they started over again and kept adding. And that's when they added the sides on the 2 wings on either side. But they were very short.
Oh, okay. So they weren't as long as they are today.
No. So he had some rooms built for his wife, Anne d'Autriche, Anne of Austria, but she was never allowed to spend the night there. And it's long been rumored that Louis XIII was gay.
Ha!
And so he would go out there with all of his buddies to go hunting. And so part of the thought is that, Anne was not allowed. So he was having a good old time there with all of his hunting buddies.
So it was basically a gay club.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's fascinating. I had no idea.
Yeah. On April 18th, 1651, Louis XIV visited for the very first time.
Yeah, and he loved it.
Yes, he loved it. Louis XIII, his father, died on May 14th, 1643. And 33 years to the day his father died.
He visited.
Yeah. Well, no, that's when Louis XIII died.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. So on August 17th, 1661, so, Versailles is still just this small little place.
Nothing,
20
yeah.
years later, Louis goes to a party at the Vaux-le-Vicomte that Nicolas Fouquet threw for him. He was the superintendent of finance, and he held this huge party. It had over 6,000 people there, and fireworks, and Moliere was there performing the play for the first time in front of the king. Jean de La Fontaine was there. All of these people. It was the
6,000 people.
6,000 people. It was the thing to be at.
Sounds party.
Yeah, a huge party. But then Louis XIV was thought, hey, how can this guy afford all this? Where is he getting the money for this? So other people around him convinced him, well, he probably stole it from you.
Oh no.
So Nicolas Fouquet was arrested. He was thrown in jail for the rest of his life.
What?
Yeah. And then Louis, he had Nicholas had the best people. He had Louis Le Vau, who did the architecture, Andre Le Nôtre, who designed the gardens, and Charles Le Brun, who did a lot of the decoration inside. So Louis XIV thought, hey, I want those guys too. Threw the guy in jail, and took his artists.
So wait, he didn't even get a trial. I mean, that's just how things worked back
Well,
then. Like,
they did, but it wasn't. I don't think those things were very fair.
yeah.
It's kind of laid out. I mean, when we talked about Madame de Sévigné, she wrote in her letter she was friends with Nicholas, went to the trials, and she wrote about him.
And she said it
But
wasn't fair.
well, I just think that, like, I mean, even like Marie Antoinette goes on trial, but it was like
Lies.
they knew what they were going to do.
Yeah, exactly.
It didn't
I
matter what
can
the outcome.
imagine having the best party ever
Yeah.
and then going to jail for the rest of your life.
Yeah, like, well, that was really a good party.
At
We're
the
going to
end.
arrest you now.
I can't believe they never let him out.
Yeah. Yep. So, Louis takes all of his artists, and then he decides, I think there was a jealousy because he didn't have a great big fancy palace. He was living in the Louvre at the time, and it was run down and still medieval. And so he took all these people, and then a year later, in June 1662, he decided to rebuild Versailles.
So this is how we got Versailles, from
This is
throwing the
how,
guy in jail.
yeah, from pure jealousy.
That makes a lot of sense when you look at Versailles.
Yeah, true. But slowly everything was added on. In 1663, they built the orangerie. The canal that's there in front, they built that 1667 to 1671. Inside, they had built this amazing staircase in 1672 called the Ambassador Staircase. It was destroyed in 1752, but it was huge. It's depicted in a really amazing painting you see at the Musée d'Orsay.
It's too bad it was destroyed.
Yeah, they destroyed that. Every king that comes along that goes and is like, wait, I don't like it this way. I'm going to change it. But probably the most famous part of Versailles, of course, is the Hall of Mirrors. So in 1678 to 1684, they created the Hall of Mirrors. And it includes, there's 17 arches. Each arch is filled with 21 mirrors because at the time, the Venetians were the ones were making the glass and making mirrors, and they were the only ones that could make these huge pieces. And Versailles couldn't have any products from anywhere else. It had to be French, just because it's where the king lives. So the French didn't know how to do that yet. So that's why when you look at the mirrors, they're individual mirrors put together.
Oh, that's so fascinating. I love that only the Venetians had the secret to glass. That's so cool.
Yeah, and they were like, no. No
way.
Yeah, so when you look at it, there's 17 arches, but there's 357 mirrors there.
Because, oh gosh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
There's so many.
Yeah. So the Hall of Mirrors is amazing. The ceiling was all done by Charles Le Brun, and he was basically it was all dedicated to the glory of the king, which every part of Versailles was. I mean, he had it so his bedroom was in that central part, so that when he woke up, it's when the sun was rising,
Mhm.
because he thought that he actually was the one who controlled the rising of the sun. You know,
Talk about a narcissist.
I know, egomaniac a little.
Yeah, just a little.
Yeah, yeah. So as soon as the chateau was close to being completed, Louis would just decide to do something else, add on to it even more. In 1678, Jules Mansart added even more rooms. They had all of these fountains that he wanted, and but they had no way to get the water there. So in 1681, the Marly engine, which was at the Chateau Marly near there, it brought water from the Seine to Versailles. And so they had all these, you go there today, you see all these amazing fountains. And so what they would do is people would turn them on, and then as the king was out of view, they turned them off behind him.
What?
So that when he walked, he would see the fountains, flowing and everything. But then as he walked away, they turned him off.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. I mean, I guess he controlled the water too.
Of course he did.
Yeah. But at the time he was still living in Paris, but on May 6th, 1682, he said, forget this, left Paris, left the Louvre. He was in the middle of adding on the whole back colonnade section of the Cour Carrée that we know today.
Mm-hmm.
Just stopped it. No roof. Just, was that's it. We're leaving. Pulled the government, everything, moved it all out to Versailles.
So yeah, I mean, he was the king; he'd do whatever he wanted.
Yeah.
Also, Versailles is much more lovely compared to like some medieval, castle falling
Oh,
down.
for sure. I mean, it's all, exactly how he wanted it. Gold and,
Yeah.
gilded and just everything. When he died on September 1st, 1715, it was far from finished of how he wanted it to be.
So it was still needed a lot of work.
Yeah, it still needed a lot of work. And that was 50 years after he began.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. So he still had a bit to go.
How old was he when he died?
He served for 74 years, I believe it is. He's the longest serving monarch.
Whoa,
Um,
74 years.
yeah, so I don't know, Queen Elizabeth's getting up there.
Yeah, that's true. She might beat that.
She was probably going to beat that. But after he died, Louis XV, of course, became king. He briefly moved the government out. They moved over to Vincennes and then Paris. And then Versailles just kind of started falling apart because it wasn't completely finished and nobody was there. Nobody was working on it. But in 1722, he decided to return. He started doing construction on it, and some of the rooms, Louis XIV liked these huge halls and huge rooms. Well, Louis XV didn't like that. So he had a bunch of the rooms made smaller, divided. And so it got smaller under Louis XV. So the bedrooms, used to be, when we say that, Marie Antoinette had these series of like 10, 12 rooms, at one point, those were probably 3 or 4 rooms.
Yeah, they were just much bigger and he broke
Yeah,
them down.
he broke them down. So at 1722, while he was there, he had the Petit Trianon built for Madame de Pompadour.
Of course.
And he also had this little, it was the original Trianon that was just this little hut, basically, that was made of porcelain.
A porcelain.
Yeah, so it was just covered in porcelain, and of course, it didn't survive very long. And so then he had the Trianon built as well.
Marble.
Yeah. Yep. Much better than porcelain.
I'm trying to imagine them dragging all this stuff out to the middle of nowhere.
I mean, it's a trek to get there from the chateau.
Yeah. Yeah. Like back then.
There's many ways to do that, which we'll definitely talk about. But I mean, back then, that must have seemed like miles away.
Yeah, and they didn't have golf carts.
They didn't have the golf carts, which I have a good story about that. But in 1689, not 1689, he, to help fund the League of Augsburg that they were involved in, he decided to take a lot of the furnishings and sell it off, and to melt down a lot of the silver so they could pay for this war. Um, so some of the stuff at the chateau disappeared, and he died on May 10th, 1774, of smallpox.
Mm.
And then, of course, we know who came into play at that point. Then it's Louis the 16th and Marie Antoinette.
Ah,
Yeah, and she, of course, had the petit or the hameau, the hamlet, built
uh-huh.
in 1783, and it took 4 years to complete. But if you've ever been out there and seen that, it's completely the opposite of being in the chateau.
It's like my favorite part of Versailles.
It's so sweet. The first few times I went there, it was under they were updating it and stuff. And so it was closed off. And then I think 2019 it was finally reopened, and I got to go out there and see it. And it's pretty, I mean, you could just picture her
Yeah,
just milling around, with the sheep and everything. I was kind of disappointed when the main house there,
yeah,
when you get close to it, you realize that it's just the facade is painted on.
yeah, you're right.
So it's not actually stones, but they painted all these lines to look, and then has a big sign that says, I think it was Dior.
Uh-huh.
I think it was Dior that paid for the renovation on it. And I was like, really? You couldn't throw in a couple $1,000 more?
I can put the stones. What's up with that?
Real stones there.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah. But on October 5th and 6th, 1789, on that very famous night, the women stormed Versailles. They came out there because they gathered at the Hotel de Ville, and they were mad because everybody was hungry and there wasn't any bread. And so they, grabbed all these weapons and marched in the rain, arriving at Versailles completely muddy.
So
And
dramatic.
they went to the assembly. They actually ended up that they went to go visit the king with assembly members, and the king was like, yes, yeah, I don't, we'll fix this. We'll make sure you can have flour. We'll get all this. But the group of people and the ladies outside didn't know what was going on inside. And so they were getting restless. That's when they kind of stormed the gate, killed the guards, got into the Versailles, calling for Marie Antoinette, calling for her head.
Ugh, wait, they could have worked it out, and then what? If they could have
Yep.
just told them what was happening sooner, none
Yep.
of it would have happened.
They could have worked it out. But then, some of the ladies we just talked about the last few weeks, that they were warning her and trying to get through the secret door to get to Louis's room, and then the door was locked. But they, these women basically killed the guards, cut their head off, stuck them on a stick,
Yikes.
running them through.
Yikes.
Yeah, screaming for Marie Antoinette. And of course, she walked out to the balcony, to face them. And then on October 6th, they were taken to Paris, never to return again.
But they could have just gave him some flour.
They
Gosh.
could have.
Guys.
Yeah, if they gave him some flour and somebody told Hitler that he was a good artist, a lot of things could have been avoided.
I mean, I get hangry too when I don't eat, things, I could maybe put a head on a stick if I'm pretty hungry.
I mean, the whole chopping it off and all that stuff, I don't know about that. So gross. Yeah.
It's horrible. Those poor people.
Yeah. But during the revolution, Versailles pretty much was, apart from most places, was completely survived. The day after they left, the King's Building Service began doing repairs on it because nobody was there. So
Huh.
they started actually working on the Hall of Mirrors and a bunch of other things that they were working on. In 1792, the convention decided that the chateau needed to be maintained and kept up. So it was taken care of and watched over while, all these other things are happening in Paris. Most of the furnishings at the time were taken to the Tuileries because the family was held in the Tuileries for a couple years. So a lot of their furniture and stuff went there. It didn't, a lot of it didn't survive the Tuileries later on, but other things were sent to the Mobilier, and a lot of it was sold. 17,000 pieces of it were sold between
Hmm.
August 1793 and August 1794.
So some French families just got like the king's chair in their living room.
Yeah, yeah, they did. I mean, basically to, people rich enough to buy it at auction, and I'm sure some of it wasn't that expensive, because, nobody really wanted to have things from the monarchy at that point.
Yeah.
So some pretty smart business guys were able to get some of it. But they would do public tours during the revolution, just open it up and give people tours. So it's a very different, time from what was going on elsewhere in France.
So it became like a museum.
Yeah, it became a museum. In 1796, they actually opened it as a museum. It was
Oh,
the Special Museum of the French School.
huh.
The Louvre had opened up 3 years earlier in 1793. It was dedicated to the foreign school.
Hmm.
So the Italians, the Dutch masters, all of this. So the French paintings were on display at Versailles,
And then the others in the Louvre.
and the others in the Louvre. Yeah. So it was open 2 days a week in 1796, 2 of the 10 days a week. This is
Hmm.
when they had the 10-day calendar.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And the same thing with the Louvre. It was open like 2 days to the public. It would be open for like 4 days to artists, and then closed the other days for cleaning.
So it's been a museum for a long time.
Yeah, yeah. The Louvre has been a museum, of course, I mean, the interesting things, both of these things opened during the revolution. I
Yeah.
think that's what kept them alive and from being pillaged, because it was
Yeah.
given
Otherwise,
back. Yeah, it's given back to the people, basically.
yeah, I'm shocked they did that because they were so anti, royalty. I would think they would just destroy it all and
Yeah,
what burn it, but instead they maintained it.
yeah, and it was not looked as being royal now, because now it's like the people's place.
Yeah, it's really, we wouldn't have it today if it wasn't for that.
That, thank goodness. Yeah. A few years later, the art began to be sent to museums around France after the revolution. And so other small museums located elsewhere in France started getting some of these pieces. So it ended up that so much had left, they ended up closing it as a museum.
They
Yeah.
gave it all away.
But it wouldn't be the last time. Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah. Under Napoleon, he didn't really want to spend much time out there because of, the optics were bad.
The optics.
The optics were bad because people would equate the Bourbon dynasty with Versailles, and Napoleon didn't want to, he wanted to show that he was this grand emperor. He had nothing to do with them. So if he did go out there, he'd stay at the Trianon. And so he didn't really do anything with the chateau itself. Louis Philippe, when he was in power, he decided here yet again, he wanted Versailles to be this huge museum,
Mm.
and he wanted it to be dedicated to the glories of France.
And then it reopened as a museum.
Yeah, when you go there today, the left wing from the center, which is where you go when you have tickets, if you look above it, it says that it's the Musée des Glories de France, which is the to the glories of France. So it still says it up there, even though that's not what
Yeah.
it is anymore.
To
So
look
they
for that.
left that up there. He opened it in 1837. It had over 6,000 paintings. It had over 2,000 sculptures and 3,500 drawings that were held there.
That's amazing. What happened to all that stuff? Is it in the
Yeah,
Louvre now?
well, of course, it got just sent all over the place. It went back. The contents dedicated from the Middle Ages to the July monarchy.
Hmm.
So it was just filled with everything. Napoleon III, he rarely stayed there. At that point, then again, of course, they closed the other museum. So now, the second defunct museum.
Good try.
Yeah. But Napoleon III, yeah, he didn't stay there very often. He would sometimes go there for state visits. He had Queen Victoria there, which they still do that. The president of France, they will have state functions there, close it down and do huge dinners, for traveling dignitaries and things.
Do they
Um,
get to stay there?
I don't know. They probably get to stay in that fancy hotel that's there now.
Oh, I love that hotel. I took Giuseppe there for his birthday.
Yeah, that new one that just opened there is that's like $2,000 a night.
Oh, I didn't stay there. I'm talking about
Yeah.
the one that's in the garden.
Oh yeah. No, there's a brand new one that opened that's incredibly, incredibly expensive.
Oh, okay. It'd be cool if they actually got to stay in Versailles.
This one you do.
Oh, so it's actually inside.
Yeah, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. But the World War I, basically between Napoleon III and World War I, it basically was completely falling apart because nobody was staying out there. After World War I, John D. Rockefeller, the American, gave two very huge sums of money
Hmm.
to it, as a thanks to France for standing by the U.S. during the American Revolution.
Ah.
Um, so they used a lot of that money to update it. The curators at that time also started doing everything they could to find all of the furniture that was sold off under Louis XV and also the Revolution.
What a mission.
Yeah, and they still, like, just recently in the last like few months, they found a dresser that had belonged to Louis XIV.
I can't
And
believe they can still track this stuff down.
yeah, they can still track that stuff down, and they're trying to get it all back there. But so much of what you see there was not, you could go there and be like, oh, Marie Antoinette slept there, but she didn't. I think
Yeah.
I think there's the bed in the Petit Trianon. I think that was actually her bed, though.
Yeah, that I do remember. Like you read, that is the real bed, or
Hmm.
so they say.
And they all look so tiny, like
Oh,
short.
isn't that because they used to sleep upright because they were
Yeah,
afraid they would die?
yeah,
So they kept it short because they were just sleeping, sitting up anyway,
yeah, which is so strange.
choking on their tongues.
Yeah, choking. Yeah, yeah. No cold water or
Yeah.
taking a bath.
Oh gosh, it must have been a terrible time to live. Everyone stunk and they were trying to kill you all the time.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But Versailles has gone through many, many changes today. Of course, as we know, everybody could go there and you could visit. It has the beautiful, amazing gardens. They do the fireworks shows. They do these huge parties that I don't think they brought back yet, probably 2022,
They
where you
can't.
get all
Yeah.
dressed up and the party goes literally all the way until the next morning.
So fun.
So fun. But if you are going to go today, it is closed on Mondays. So it's open
Good.
Tuesday through Sunday. The palace opens at 9 a.m. And then the Trianon and the Petit Trianon open at noon.
Yeah, that's always tricky because that's the
Yeah,
best part.
that is the best part. The gardens, you could go at 8 in the morning. You could visit the gardens most of the time for free. On the nights they do the fountain shows, you have to pay a ticket. It's usually 20 euros just to go to visit the chateau. If it's a night with the fountains and the whole show, it's 27 euros. That's as of right now.
Hmm.
Um, so those obviously could change. But a really great thing to do before you go is you could download the app. There's a few apps for you. There's a garden one, and there's also one for the chateau. But download before you go because they do. It's really great. It has maps in there. It has information. It has everything in there. So it's a really great thing to do before you go because sometimes when you go, and if you don't have, even if there is Wi-Fi, 4,000 other people trying to use it at the same time. And so sometimes the app, it'll take forever to download.
Good advice. And
Yeah,
you can also hire Claudine to walk around with you and tell you fun stuff.
there you go. But yeah, there's all sorts of fun ways to get around, as we were saying, how the Trianon and everything is so far away.
So far.
And the cobblestones that you have to encounter on the way are like they're like the size of a boat. They're so big.
They're huge. They must be like the original or something. They look so old.
And they like stick out, and like the whole time you're just like looking down to make sure you don't, fall and
Break
kill
the leg.
yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're so dangerous.
Yeah, but there's a little train that you could jump on, that's only a few euros. There's bikes out there you could rent to get around.
I love the
Uh,
bikes. I always take the bikes.
those the bikes are fun. There's the rowboat. You could rent a rowboat on
You can
the
row there.
yeah, well, just on the canal. You could do that on the, out there right in front of the side of the chateau. There is, as we mentioned, the golf carts,
So
but
much.
I did that because I thought, "Wow, what a great deal. I'm totally gonna do that." Well, read what it was after the first hour
Oh, it's
because
like crazy expensive after the first
yes. So it's like, 30 euros or something like that for the first hour,
hour. Uh-huh.
and then afterwards, it's like I can't even remember what it was, but I think I had it for, like, 2 hours, and it ended up being, over $100.
That's crazy
It
for a
was
golf cart.
$36 per hour, and then it's 9 euros for every 15 minutes.
That's so crazy. They really get you. Take the bikes. The bikes are like €7 for like the day.
Yeah, yeah, it says it's 9 year I wrote this all down, 9 euros per hour for the bike.
That's insane.
Yeah,
For the golf cart. The bikes are a good deal. I always take the bikes.
yeah. So I was like, "Oh, this will be awesome. I'll just zip around and I'll go see everything and I'll just park it and take the key with me." And
Uh,
I that day I did like I roamed around the Trianon, the Petit Trianon, the Hamo, everything. And then I went to
well,
take it back and it was like $200. And
that's
I was like,
insane.
"No, what? What?"
So don't do that, guys.
Yeah, and then after I walked away going, "Oh," I think it was like I was in shock for that one for a few hours. I was like, "Oh my gosh." But so just keep that in mind.
Take the bikes. Take the bikes.
Take the bikes. But it's so close to Paris. You could be there on the RERC in like 30 minutes. And then you just take a short walk to the chateau from there. It's like 10 minutes to walk from the chateau. It's very easy. There's trains leaving all the time. You could also, of course, Uber it from the city. There's tours that, you could go out there. It's just so easy on the area. You grab it, goes by the Eiffel Tower, and head straight out there.
Yes, definitely recommend. I love Versailles. Even if it is always busy, it's so beautiful.
It is. And you could maybe see, our friend Molly could pack you a picnic and a very fancy picnic.
Or you can go to her house and cook with her.
Yeah, even better.
Molly Wilkinson.
Molly Wilkinson. Yeah, go visit Versailles and then go make some macarons with Molly.
Yeah, she was on the podcast on La Vie Creative, so you can find her story there. But perfect, guy. I'm so happy to learn about Versailles. Now I need to go out there and visit.
I know,
and
it is
hope
great.
all you guys will go visit too. And don't forget to join Claudine every Sunday for her live virtual tours. You can see France from your couch, or you can hire her to do travel planning for you. And don't forget to tune in next week for another episode of Paris History Avec a Hemingway.
Thank you for listening to Paris History Avec a Hemingway. If you want to find out some more, you could always find me on my Instagram page, Claudine Bleu Blanc Rouge, and that's BLEU, as in the French way to spell it. And each day I post a daily history lesson about a person or a place or something in Paris, or it's lots of fun facts. And then also at ClaudineHemingway.com, where you can also sign up for my newsletter there.